What it do? Bedtime crew. Hey man, listen, today I'm here to talk about the fights that we need to see before the year is over. Obviously, I made a video like this late last year, talking about all the fights I want to see in 2025. Some of them have happened, some of them I don't think we're going to get to see. But now that there's only 4 months left in the year, if I'm doing my math correctly, and I am pretty good at mathematics, I feel like it's a lot easier to say these are the fights the UFC should make before 2026 is here. We're going to go through every single weight class. If a champion is already booked, I'm not going to make another fight for them. I feel like it's totally reasonable to not fight again if you're fighting in, September, October, November, whatever it is. I'm going to try and make these all realistic fights the UFC could make, all right? First one we need to talk about, Pantoja versus Van. This is actually happening, dude. The fact that my boy Joshua Van has gone from unranked to now #1 contender and fighting Pantoja most likely in December on that last pay-per-view of the year, you just can't script it, dude. I can't wait for this fight. I will be unrealistically picking Joshua Van. I hope you guys know this. I don't care what the numbers say. I don't care what the logic says. I'm going to be riding with my heart. I'm going to be picking Joshua Van to win this fight. But yeah, I feel this is pretty likely to happen in December. Maybe November MSG would be a cool main event, co-main event, But yeah, probably December is most likely. Pantoja versus Van. This has to happen. Last one I'll talk about in the flyweight division. Come on, man. Come on, man. That's too easy. This fight should have been made 3 years in a row by now. And I feel like if you're not going to make this now, then maybe let's get Kai Kara-France versus Tatsuro Taira and Manel Kape versus Charles Johnson. Those would be good supplementary fights, but I still believe in this fight. I still think there's more gas in the tank to see Kai Kara-France get bullied by fucking Manel Kape. I still believe in this fight and how entertaining it would be in the build-up and in the actual matchup itself. I could honestly see Kai Kara-France low-key winning this, but yeah, I think this is a super entertaining fight. This would be a great fight night main event. Maybe in addition to the prelims of a pay-per-view, something like that. But before the year is done, I would like to see Kai Kara-France versus Manel Kape. Or like I said, maybe Kai Kara-France versus Taira. Manel Kape versus Charles Johnson. These are good supplementary fights, but this is a dream one for me, okay? Now, let's move on to the Bantamweight division. And this is probably going to be the first controversial entry that we have in this video, but I honestly think this is a great idea because when you have a contender that is, and I mean this with all due respect, Brandon Royval is monumentally, catastrophically, what's another good vocabulary word? Extraordinarily landlocked out of that fucking title at 125. He's lost to Pantoja twice, you're cooked. You've also lost to Joshua Van, you're cooked. Okay, you have a win over basically everyone else in the division except the 2 guys fighting for the belt. And you know the UFC wants to see Brandon Moreno get a 15th title shot. So I just feel like Brandon Royval hanging around at flyweight trying to get another title shot against someone that he's lost to. I just don't really see that being interesting to him. So what I would do at bantamweight with somebody who's also landlocked out of the title, can we get Sean O'Malley versus Brandon Royval? Why is this actually a tough fight? Why is this actually a fucking sick fight? Because another problem that I have with Sean O'Malley being matchmake at bantamweight, I think Jan deserves a title shot, so I can't spam the Jan versus O'Malley 5-round, bro. Trust me, it'll be a banger. Okay, I've made that video 3 or 4 times. Jan deserves the title shot. O'Malley's coming off 2 losses in a row, but he's still ranked in the top 3. Me, personally, I don't give a fuck about Song Yadong versus Sean O'Malley. I don't give a fuck about, Mario Batista. They train together. Umar versus Sean O'Malley. I don't know. Whatever it is, it doesn't interest me. I think Brandon Royval moving up as the number 2 or 3 contender at flyweight, who's always been a big flyweight, versus Sean O'Malley, I think this is a little bit more intriguing, and this is something I could definitely see Sean O'Malley accepting. Do you seriously think Sean O'Malley, after 2 losses to Marab, is going to go, dude, imagine not booking me against Umar, dude.
Dude, that's who I want to fight, dude. Me and Umar, bro.
He doesn't want to fight these fucking grapplers. He wants to have an exciting striking matchup. This is the fight to make. I want to see Sean O'Malley versus Brandon Royval. This would be a sick fight night main event. I know they won't do that with Sean O'Malley, but I think this is a pretty smart idea for two guys that are kind of landlocked out of title pictures. Let's just put them together against each other. I think this is an entertaining matchup that most people haven't really thought about, but I think it's a really good fight, okay? As for the aforementioned Umar Nurmagomedov, I think this Song Yadong fight is actually a really hard fight, and I would have a lot of respect for Umar if he came back against Song Yadong. I don't know why the China card was not headlined by something like this. Maybe he wasn't ready, but if the UFC is back in China before the year is over, this would be a great main event for that. Or you can put this on the Abu Dhabi pay-per-view. I think this is a very doable fight before the year is over. And I know what you're saying. Maybe you're not saying this. No human's ever said this before. But what about Mario Batista? What do we do with Mario Batista? I don't fucking know. Give him somebody. I don't know, bro. But I think Umar versus Song Yadong makes more sense. It's a bigger matchup. It's big names. And I think it's a more intriguing fight as well. I really feel like, you know, Mario Batista, I'm not saying he's coming off bad wins, but it's like patchy mix. Dude, patchy mix, that's the win that gets you a title elimination bout. The more I think about that, the more I'm like, can we see Mario Batista against someone in the fucking UFC? Like someone that's not Jose Baldo, or like, and he wins by robbery decision, or patchy mix. I think Song Yadong coming off the Henry Cejudo win, he's in a weird spot where he deserves to fight up. He is somewhat highly ranked, but he's also still a little bit like unproven. So I think Umar versus Song Yadong as a 5-round fight would be very, very entertaining. And I think he would put up a really good fight against Umar. I would probably pick Umar, but I think Song would do a good job in this fight. So that's a fight I want to see before the year is over in the Bantamweight division. Let's move on to the Featherweight division. Now this one is, listen, bro, I hate to concede defeat here. Lerone Murphy, 35-year-old prospect, we will be giving this guy a fucking title shot. We'll be giving this kid a title shot. What's the question? Lerone Murphy. What's the kid's name? Lerone. He fought on this card? Yeah, whatever the kid's name is. He's getting a title shot. I feel like you have to make this fight. People made a very good point in my fights to make video. I said that maybe we should do Lerone Murphy versus Movsar Evloev if Volk is injured or whatever it is. But if Evloev is genuinely injured and he can't fight Volk, and by the way, Murphy has this momentum now. He's coming off a brutal finish. I would just say, fuck it, dude. I would probably rather Lerone Murphy beat Volkanovski than Evloev or Gene Silva. Like, I swear, anything but Gene Silva versus Volk, I'm cool with for the featherweight title. I think that Lerone Murphy, bro, I truly deserve a title shot, bro. That's 9 spinning elbows in a row, bro. I deserve a title shot, bro. Lerone Murphy versus Volk. That's the move for that December pay-per-view. And it also feels very likely. That's another reason why I've put this in the video. Definitely feels like this is going to happen. So I would say Volk versus Murphy is the move for the featherweight title. And as for the rest of the division, there are 2 fights that I would try and make before 2025 is over. Before we get to next year, where we most likely have a vacant featherweight title if Volk beats Murphy, or Lerone Murphy's now the champion. We need contenders to match up against him coming off big wins. Because I will say this, I do think Gene Silva's going to finish Diego Lopez. I think Gene Silva's going to smash him. So once that is concluded, can we please get this fucking fight, dude? This should have been the fight anyways, to be honest. Instead of Aaron Pico being booked against Evloev, maybe Gene Silva versus Evloev would have been a better fight. That would have been cool to watch, right? And maybe we would be living in a timeline where we got Murphy versus Gene Silva. That would have been fucking crazy. But Lopez versus Silva, I think Silva's going to win by finish inside like 2 or 3 rounds. And I think that Diego Lopez, win or lose, he is a fighter that will just turn around really quickly. He's already back from his loss to Volk in April. So I think that before the year is over, if he doesn't take too much damage, maybe he just gets dropped and then, you know, Gene Silva just fucking barks over him. He can come back against Yair Rodriguez, who's been injured, who may be coming back this year. Maybe this is a Paramount 2026 pay-per-view fight, but I would like to see Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez next, because I have a feeling Gene Silva's going to beat Lopez. He's going to be in talks for a title shot. Yair and Lopez, this is 2 top 5 names that hate each other. We got the Kulan? Kulan, we have to follow up on that. We need that fight. So please give me this before the year is over or on that January pay-per-view to start off 2026. The last fight I want to see at featherweight that I've actually thought about, and I'm like, you know what? This makes perfect sense with the rankings and with the timelines of these fighters. Dude, can we get Evloev versus Aljo 2 5-rounder? The first fight was actually very entertaining, and I've always said this is a good fight. The first one was very, very entertaining. The scrambles were super high level. The striking, we're not going to talk about that too much, but Aljo thinks he's a fucking boxer now. So I think there is enough change from the first fight to a rematch, and now Aljo is ranked top 5 for fluking a robbery win over Brian Orton. No, I'm just kidding. But now Aljo's top 5. Evloev's number 1, but he's been kind of locked out of the title shot because he couldn't fight Aaron Pico, and he's been a little bit inactive. I think this would be a great 5-round fight night main event to finish off the year. The winner of this is 110% the next title challenger to Lerone Murphy or Gene Silva, whoever is the champion at the time. Whatever the situation is with the belt, the winner of this fight is the number 1 contender. It makes sense. The 5 rounds makes me think Evloev may be able to get a finish later on in the fight, as we've seen Aljo kind of slow down or kind of take his foot off the gas when he gets to round 4 and 5. Evloev seems to build as the fight goes on. Even though he has a low finishing rate, I think the UFC wants to see him finish somebody before they give him a title shot. So if he can beat Aljo dominantly or get a finish in a 5-round fight, I think that 100% puts him as the number 1 contender. And same for Aljo. If he beats Evloev in a 5-rounder, you have to give him a title shot, and that would be cool to see. So Evloev versus Aljo 5-rounder before the year is over as a fight night main event. I think that's a really good idea in the featherweight division. Now, lightweight division. And the thing that annoys me sometimes is, bro, I could literally make the most perfect concrete matchmaking of all time. I could literally make every single fight, and the UFC does it, right? There will be, every single time, there are people, when I make a fight in a video, dude, this guy's fucking casual, bro. What the fuck is this matchup, dude? And then when the UFC announces it, unanimously, every comment, dude, banger, bro. Banger, dude. The UFC is cooking this year. Blah, blah, blah. All this shit. It makes no fucking sense. So what I mean to say is people are never going to be happy, like, across the board with who I think should be fighting this guy, who should be fighting this guy. I'm just looking at it how I think it makes the most sense and what I think is realistic for the UFC. With the lightweight division, there is one big problem, and that is the fact that Armin Sarkari, I don't even want to do a Chael impression after his video about Raj. This guy's a fucking moron, dude. But Armin Sarkarian, he should be the number 1 contender. He should be fighting for the belt. But he pulled out of a title fight. He hasn't fought since UFC 300. You cannot give him a fucking title shot before the year is over. You just can't do it, dude. I'm sorry. So I feel like the best thing to do with Armin is him versus Paddy the fucking body, lad. You know what I mean? Like, fucking starving, lad. Me and Armin are going fucking in and out after the fight, lad. You know what I mean, lad? Armin versus Paddy. This perfectly fits on that Abu Dhabi pay-per-view. I do not understand why the UFC would not make this fight, because Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje, Rufus has outright said, I'm not fighting this guy. Give me a title shot. Okay? And Paddy Pimblett, honestly, why would you not accept this? This is the number 1 contender in the division. When Islam moves up to welterweight, he's gone from the rankings. Armin will be ranked number 1 in this division. This is a clear-cut number 1 contender fight. If you win this, you are fighting Ilya next for the belt, which is the fight we all want to see in 2026. And if you lose to Armin Tsarukyan, I'm sorry to say this, but I feel like it's most likely by decision. And also, Paddy Pimblett's grappling is so fucking good that Armin Tsarukyan has to go out there and be a primary striker. He knocked out Beneil Dariush. Congrats, bro. He did well in the boxing against Charles Oliveira. So did pretty much everyone else that boxed with him except fucking Rufus. I feel like Armin Tsarukyan versus Paddy Pimblett would be a close, competitive, entertaining fight. And I feel like regardless of who wins, we get to see somebody that we want to see fight Ilya. Because the only problem with both of these guys is we definitely want to see Armin versus Ilya. We want to see Paddy versus Ilya. But you can't really justify giving either of them a title shot. So you have to make them fight in October at that Abu Dhabi pay-per-view or November MSG. One of those two cards. This needs to happen before the year is over. And I think another fight to... Oh, fuck. I just remembered he's injured, dude. I'm just going to delete it, bro. I was going to say Dan Hooker versus Max Holloway, but I just remembered Max said he's broke his hand. He's not fighting till next year. Next year on that Paramount pay-per-view, Max Holloway versus Dan Hooker. That's an easy fucking solve. As for Ilya Topuria, what would I do with Ilya Topuria? I want to see him fight before the year is over. I feel like I'm not allowed to sit here and say, why is Islam Makhachev fighting once a year with no difficulty and then spending the rest of the year sitting on the sidelines? Brother, send this guy 2-3 years Dagestan and forget. I like Islam, but it's low-key becoming very fucking annoying that this guy fights an easy fight, like an easy matchup, or he just destroys his opponent in like a round or two, and then you don't see him for fucking 8 or 9 months, bro. And I criticize other people for doing that. I have to criticize Islam for doing the same. So if Ilya Topuria fights in June, takes literally 0 damage, slimes out Charles Oliveira, and doesn't show up again until 2026, I feel like that's just such a waste of the prime Ilya Topuria that we're experiencing right now. So I feel like the move to do as the UFC, this is a classic strategy that Dana loves to use. We just give one fighter exactly what they want, just not when they want it, okay? Arman versus Paddy is the clear number 1 contender fight to make, and then you call up Rufus. He's hitting the, hey! He's hitting the bag. You call him up and say, hey, Rufus, you get to fight Ilya Topuria. We're giving you 4 or 5 weeks notice, or else you can retire. What the fuck is he gonna say, dude? Ilya versus Rufus. I know that nobody wants to see this fight, even though Gaethje literally deserves it more than Poirier deserved to fight Makhachev. But regardless of that, it doesn't matter because we don't like Rufus and we love Poirier. It is what it is. And by the way, Justin Gaethje Loki deserves this more than Charles deserved to fight Ilya. But regardless of that, Gaethje, I know no one wants to see him fight for the belt, but I want to see Ilya fight before the year is over. I would rather see Ilya defend his title easily against Gaethje than not defend his title at all, right? Because it's easy to be like, no, don't give Gaethje that. What is the risk? Genuinely, what is Gaethje going to do to Ilya? Please tell me. What the fuck does Gaethje do to Ilya? You guys are all the ones swearing Islam is fucked against Ilya, bro. So why are we scared of giving him Gaethje? Just feed him Gaethje. Gaethje's like, I want a title shot. I'm going to retire. All right, here you go. Here's both. You're getting retired and you're getting a title shot. Here you fucking go. Get him out of the way. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get up. Give him his coat. Get him out of here. And then what? In the meantime, you have Arman versus Paddy Pimblett. Boom. You are set for 2026 with a clear number 1 contender and Ilya Topuria off his first title defense at lightweight. And you get time to see what's going to happen with Islam and fucking JDM. So that's what I would do with the lightweight division. I would say, you know what, Rufus, you can have a title shot. And you are getting sentenced to retirement by Ilya Topuria. And the winner of Arman versus Paddy can fight him next. That's what I would do, okay? Let's move on to the welterweight division. The first one that's very obvious, mate. Make this fucking fight, bro. Seriously, put it in fucking Brisbane, mate. Put it in Perth, bro. I don't care. JDM versus Islam. I feel like this is pretty much confirmed by everyone that's a fan of the sport, that's talking about the sport, to be the MSG headliner. It's probably going to be JDM versus Islam Makhachev. I can't wait for this fight, dude. This is literally my WrestleMania. Watching my GOAT JDM fucking piece up Islam Makhachev by decision, bro. Yeah, this is very obvious. This fight definitely needs to happen before the year is over. If this somehow gets pushed back to next year, holy fuck, you're gonna hear about it from me, dude. I see no reason why this shouldn't low-key already be announced, but I pray and I hope that this is basically confirmed for MSG, okay? Now, in my opinion, the welterweight division is like the best weight class in the UFC right now. In terms of the entire top 10 being like pretty solid names, all entertaining, all actively fighting, I feel like this is the best weight class alongside maybe 155 or maybe 145, 185, one of those weight classes, okay? The first fight I want to see before the year is over. Bro, Kamaru's a bum, bro. I literally 1080'd him on his podcast, bro. I literally beat him by a unanimous decision on his podcast, bro. Bro, he's literally a bum. I'm literally going to shine up his head and freaking dunk him on his head, bro. Bilal versus Usman. I know that Usman said he's going to sit around waiting for a title shot. I know that I just gave Gaethje an undeserved title shot. The difference is there is really number 1 contenders ahead of Usman. You could literally freeze this guy out of the title picture for the rest of his life. You could just be like, bro, Leon Edwards beat you twice. What are you talking about? I love Usman, but I have to say it like it is, bro. You lost at Leon twice, bro. You're gonna have to beat somebody else to get a title shot. I don't give a fuck how many times you defended your belt against Jorge Masvidal. Fight Bilal Muhammad on the MSG card, the same one as JDM versus Islam. Or maybe they put this in December. I don't know when they do this, but honestly, I could see this happening in Abu Dhabi in that October card. I think Bilal versus Kamaru Usman is a fight we all wanted to see because of the beef when Bilal was the champion. They're both around the same age. They are both 1 or 2 wins away from a title shot, especially Usman. If he wins this, he's getting a title shot next. And I feel like even if he wins this and he doesn't get a title shot, him versus Islam is a great fight, man. You know, Bilal, if he wins this, there's Shavkat. There's a Sean Brady rematch. There's Ian Gary coming up. There's a lot of options for both of these guys. I think this is a great fight for both of these guys in the meantime while we have JDM versus Islam, okay? Speaking of those guys, Brady versus Shavkat, I've talked about this at length. I think this should be a 5-round main event to a fight night or get added to a pay-per-view as the 5-round co-main event. Most likely at this point, I think this would be a really good fight night main event. Like, I wanted this to be the main event of that Vancouver card. I feel like I was almost there because Brady said it was supposed to be him versus Ian Gary in the main event, which is a weird fight. I feel like Shavkat versus Brady makes more sense and it's more intriguing in terms of they both have so much momentum. So I want to see this fight ahead of him versus Gary. But yeah, Brady versus Shavkat, I think that'd be a good fight night main event. And the last one I want to talk about in the welterweight division, and then it really drops off a fucking cliff, to be honest. I think Carlos Prates versus Michael Morales is a fucking banger. I don't know why I haven't seen anybody matchmake this. I think this would be a great fight for UFC Rio. I know that Prates said something about not wanting to fight top 10 opponents. I don't believe him at all. I feel like Prates will fight anybody. And honestly, Michael Morales has no name value. Like, he is a number 7 contender in this division. And I promise you, 80% of casual MMA fans do not know this guy fucking exists. So I think a great way to get some hype in this lower half of the top 10 is get Prates versus Michael Morales. The winner of this deserves to fight a big name like a Bilal Muhammad or a Sean Brady or a Shavkat coming off a loss, something like that. If Michael Morales wins this, I'd love to see him fight maybe Ian Gary or, you know, one of those guys, like I said. I think Michael Morales versus Carlos Prates is a great fight to add to that Rio de Janeiro card if you could do that. Michael Morales is coming off a fucking round 1 knockout. So I think Morales versus Prates would be great for the Rio de Janeiro card in October. I think this would be good for like MSG, fucking a fight night main event. Like Prates Morales to me is a sick matchup, especially when you look at the boxing and, you know, wrestling of Michael Morales versus the Muay Thai of Carlos Prates. I think Prates has really good takedown defense, so this would be mainly a stand-up fight. And Michael Morales is really good at almost like the Prates 1.0 game plan of like just getting pieced up and then knocking them out. So I feel this would be most likely a finish either way. I really would like to see this fight. Morales versus Prates, like I said, Rio, Abu Dhabi, MSG, one of those two. Okay, now this next one to talk about in the middleweight division, I am kind of cheating here. Okay, I think this fight is probably going to happen in January or February 2026, but I want to see it announced before the year is over. I'm seeing fights announced for December already on my Twitter and shit like that, so I feel like we could get this announcement before the year is over. I want to see Anthony Hernandez versus Chimaev. This is the only fight that intrigues me for Chimaev. Obviously, I want to see Rainier de Ridder. I think that's a great fight. I would like to see Rainier de Ridder versus Dricus du Plessis at some point. I don't think that's going to happen this year. But Anthony Hernandez, Khamzat Chimaev, once Hernandez beats Rainier de Ridder, I want to see this fight get announced quick. I want to see that shit get announced on the December pay-per-view. Like, hey, bro, January on the Paramount card, we've got Chimaev versus Hernandez. You know what I'm saying? Something along those lines. I want to see this fight get made before the year is over. And again, I'm not mad if it's Rainier de Ridder versus Khamzat Chimaev, but for me, the matchup, the most intriguing stylistic matchup against Chimaev is Anthony Hernandez. So I hope that Anthony Hernandez wins like I think he will, and that this fight gets announced before the year is over. So I know I'm kind of cheating, but this is really the only title fight that interests me, to be honest, okay? I know that Strickland's sitting on the side. Here's the fucking thing, dude. I fucking out-wrestled Chimaev, you guys. It's like, dude, okay, bro. This guy's literally in a fucking, like, the episode of The Office right now. Like, I just want to shout out the UFC scriptwriter that came up with, let's send Sean Strickland to anger management. You have a future working for fucking SNL or something like that, dude. Because whoever came up with that in the UFC scripting department, like, yo, let's send Strickland to fucking anger management. God bless you, bro. Strickland, though, you're not getting a title shot, brother. I want to see Hernandez fight for that fucking belt, all right? The last fight I want to talk about at middleweight before I move, like I said, before it goes downhill and we have to talk about fucking light heavyweight and heavyweight. I think Cannonier versus Costa. This would be a great fight night main event. This would be a good addition to a weaker pay-per-view card as like an opener or a featured fight or something like that. Two unks in the middleweight division. They should have fought already. They're both going to stand and bang. There's not going to be that much MVP emoting at range. I think they're just going to get in the pocket and scrap. I think this would be a really entertaining fight. I think this would be like a better version of the RoboCop fight. So Cannonier versus Costa before the year is over sounds great to me. I'd love to see that fight. Now, light heavyweight division. I got to give some props to the UFC. I give criticism. I also need to give credit where it's due. The UFC has done a great job matchmaking light heavyweight division. I mean, we got fucking Big Ank versus Alex Pereira 2. We got Azamat Mozakano versus Rakic. That's a great fight. I'm really excited for that. We've got, Yuri versus Darius Khalil. Let's go for that. Yuri versus Khalil. That's booked. So, honestly, most of the light heavyweight division, I'm excited for what's coming for the rest of the year. The only fight I would add to that is Johnny Walker. Dude, imagine not picking freaking Johnny Walker, bro. Dude, you seriously pick Zhang Ming Yang, bro? Dude, you're fucking casual, bro. Real ones pick Johnny Walker by calf kick, bro. Johnny Walker, the hardcore nightmare, will be taking on Bogdan Guskov. I think that's a great fight to make. This is 110% going to be a finish. Bogdan Guskov loses early on and then locks in and finishes you. Johnny Walker is a fluke or be fluked fighter. That's really all there is to it. I think this is almost a guaranteed finish. And I think this would be a really, really fun scrap to add to a pay-per-view card or to add to the headlining prelims of a big pay-per-view. Whatever it is, I think this belongs in front of a packed crowd on the undercard of a pay-per-view. Like I said, I'm almost 100% certain that this would end in a finish either way. So I want to see Guskov versus Walker before the year is over. And like I said, think about the meme potential of this, dude. Smith versus Walker 2. You're attacking my family 2.0. I mean, come on, man. The script writes itself. Guskov versus Walker is the move. Now, with the heavyweight division, it's not necessarily that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really impressed that they've booked 2 fights that I give a fuck about, which is Almeida versus Volkov and Cyril Paw Patrol Gane fighting for a fucking belt again. Has 3 title shots in his career now. Tony Ferguson got 0, by the way. Just letting you know that. And, he's fighting Tom Aspinall for the vacant belt. Like Tom Aspinall got given the belt because Jones fucked him around for 2 years. So this division is pretty fucking cooked. It's in a bit of a low point right now, and it needs fights to get moving, and we need some contenders to rise up. I think that the first fight I would look to make before the year is over is Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis is on a fucking win streak in 2025. He's coming off some finishes. I think move him up the rankings against Waldo. This is a fight where people hate Waldo and they love Derek Lewis, so this makes a lot of sense to me. This is also another random ethnicity that Derek Lewis is probably going to fluke an early stoppage on. So I would say Lewis versus Waldo Cortez Acosta is a pretty logical matchup to make before the year is over. And the last fight I want to see in this heavyweight division, in the top 15, that I think we need to see before the year is over. And this one's probably the most important fight you can make in the division. Voices in the air. Bro, you got to make the dream fight, dude. You gotta make the dream fights. They come and they go really quickly. We thought we were promised Ilya versus Islam. We thought we were promised GSP versus Anderson Silva. We thought we were promised, Jones versus Aspinall. These things disappear in the blink of an eye, man. You gotta strike where the iron is hot. Shamil Gaziev and Tai Tuivasa. This is one of the biggest, largest, heaviest matchups the UFC could make in the entire company, let alone in this top 15 in the heavyweight division. I think that this is a very important fight that we need to see before the year is over. But yeah, let me know your opinions in the comments down below. What fight would you like to see before the year is over? What fight do you think the UFC needs to make in every single weight class? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Go follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Bedtime MMA, and I will see you guys in the next video, man. Goodbye.